I think the other thing that's happened, and I saw this really powerfully this summer. I visited one of my students who was at Cornell University at the Telluride House, which is a really wonderful summer program for students across the world. They come and live in community, and they have an amazing educational and residential experience there. And I met with them, and I asked them to tell me about their schools. So there were 3 different groups in the school. The kids who were from international destinations, from China and Turkey and Afghanistan, and from Germany and France, they talked to me about the fact that they wanted to come to America because the American liberal arts tradition has this tremendous capacity to teach analytical thinking and independent thinking and creativity, this great notion of education as being far beyond something that is mechanical and rote. This is one of the great gifts that the United States educational system has. And then I asked the students who were from very, very poor backgrounds, very underprivileged backgrounds from inner cities across the country, and they said they wanted to go to college and to good high schools because they just simply wanted to be validated and to have a notion that they could do anything. They were talking about the American dream in really, really powerful and amazing ways. They wanted to contribute to this society, but they needed help to get to that position of privilege at a college. And then I asked the kids who happened to be from private schools, the privileged group, and I said, tell me about your schools. And again, think about this. The 2 groups that had spoken first had said what we yearn for the most is exactly what you have at the private academy and the private college in the United States. You have teaching for independent thinking, you have caring teachers, you have parents who care deeply about the success of their children, and you have the opportunity to change lives with this opportunity. And the private school kids said, our schools are really anxious places. They're really unhappy places. Our parents won't let us grow up. Our parents won't let us fail. I really don't like my high school experience. So I sat back and I asked the kids what they had just heard. And of course, what they had just heard was the notion that somehow this notion of privilege or a notion of entitlement had sort of closed in on itself. And what we need to do at the private academy, whether it's high school or a college, is to go back to certain values that all of you who are over 65 years old would be surprised that I would need to say this. You'd be surprised that I would need to say that we need to teach the students that grit and tenacity and determination are really important. You'd be surprised to hear that we have to really teach carefully to make sure that the students see failure as a part of life. You might even be surprised that we have to teach them that goals that they set may take years to achieve. And there may be 5 or 6 different stops along the way. So I think that question cuts to the very notion of where we've failed, both in the private school movement and at the liberal arts college movement. And we need to improve really, really quickly if we're going to have the kind of creativity and the kind of energy that we need to move this country and this world forward. So I think it is the question, and it's a question that I think you can all solve very, very easily in the lives of your kids, simply by completely rejecting the strategic notion of education. And just to make it clear, I hope this is clear. So what I'm saying when I say the strategic notion of education is to say that education is simply a commodity and is something that one needs to endure. The other way of describing it is education is seat time. Education is boredom that you must endure in order to get to another place. That's not good enough. Education has to be the transformational moment for a child. So it's the wrong question to ask when you go to a cocktail party and you happen to walk up to a high school junior or senior. The wrong question to ask is, where are you going to college? Because you're loading it up on that kid. You know you are. You're going to make a value judgment on what college comes out of that child's mouth. Are we agreeing on that? We're doing a little test. And if they say one word, we're going to say, wow, you're a successful human being. And if they say another word, you're going to be like, wow, what happened? Whose fault was that? Must have been the parents' fault. Must have been the school's fault. Must have been the kid's fault. What's the question to ask? The question is, how are you going to contribute to this church, this community, this family, this college, this world? Are you prepared to do it? Can you do it from a community college? Can you do it from a state university? Can you do it from a private college? Can you do it without going to college? Yes.